So as most of you already know, if you need a washer, so just out this door and to the right. My name is Amy Gabler. I'm the Regional Sport Development Officer in Sport Manitoba's West Region. Today we're going to have Megan Foster presenting to us quality communication, how to create a successful exchange. So Megan has been facilitating workshops from the local to the national level for more than a decade, enjoying the challenge of maintaining fresh and current content. Her passion lies in helping others discover the magic of aligning behaviors and actions with person values. Outside of coaching and facilitation work, she completed her Master's of Arts in Leadership Studies from Royal Roads University in December 2018. She's currently living and loving life in Brandon, Manitoba. Here's Megan. Thank you, Amy. How is everybody? Good, that's good. Everybody's spread out around the room, so we're going to move around a little bit today, and eventually we'll all be closer together. Deal? We won't leave the room, I promise. Sometimes I make little walks, but I won't do that to you guys today. So before I get started, as Amy mentioned, my name is Megan Foster. I identify as female, and I use the pronouns she and her. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the First Nations and Métis people of Treaty 1, which is the land that we're on today. Thank you all very much for coming and being interested in this topic. When Shannon and I were discussing the details on what we wanted to include, it was a discussion of, do we want to have it about communicating with athletes? Do we want to talk about board level? How do we want to involve this? And it came down to more about our own individual personal development. So today's workshop is going to be about how to communicate more with your peers rather than an adult to an athlete relationship and exchange. I'd like to set that context. If anyone wants to get up and leave, I understand. If that's not what you signed up for, head on over to Terrace Corner. Or have some snacks and look at the lake, that's good too. So as we open up today, we're going to turn on my cooker, and we're going to talk a little bit about rapport. Building rapport, what does that mean, why is it important? We're then going to do a little bit of self-reflection and work on what your preferred communication style is. And then we're going to do a little bit of group work and interaction to practice. And then I always like to finish with what I call tech support. That definitely does not mean how to fix your computer. What I mean is, in this room, we have so many resources of stuff that we use every day. So I want to have an opportunity built right in for everyone to share what they're using. What apps are you using? What do you love? What do you want to know more about? Someone on the other side of the room might have the best thing ever that's going to change your life, and it has nothing to do with what I've said today. So we're going to finish off with that. Fair? Good? All right, so before we dive in, Amy talked a little bit about who I am, and I want you guys to get to know those at your table. So you probably know each other already, but I want you to chat a little bit. If there's only two of you, maybe you can make friends with your neighboring tables. And I want your table to come up with a few questions that you might have for me. Whether it's about communication or about my dog that I don't have, whatever it might be. All right, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Introduce yourselves if you don't know each other. What are some things you want to learn about today, and what questions you might have for me? Go. All right, everybody. That was a very quick 2 minutes. As you'll find throughout this morning, I am queen of cut-off conversations. So I like to keep on time, and nobody wants to be late for lunch. I'm also the queen of uncomfortable silence. So I'll stand here and wait until we have some audience participation. All right? That makes some people more uncomfortable than others. So who's got the first question for me? Nice.
What is your sport background?
Oh, that's my sport background. That's kind of important in a weekend workshop like this. So I was a multi-sport athlete as well. You're actually in the good company of the MHSAA Provincial Volleyball Champion of 2003. Cindy was earlier, but you got me now. So volleyball was one of my sports, softball as well, and figure skating. I have certified my provincial level figure skating coach. I'm also working on my master coach developer through figure skating as well as multi-sport within CCP. In my day job, I actually work with the lovely Sport Manitoba team as well, and I'm currently on mat leave. So I'm the regional Shannon or Leanne or Iris or Amy or Nana. Next question.
What's your education background like? kinesiology or?
Aha. So I have a Bachelor of absolutely nothing, a BA. I have a Bachelor of Arts from Brandon University, and I just completed my Master's of Leadership Studies with a focus in organizational change. Next question.
What ball team did you play for?
What ball team? Well, Surfs Manitoba. I also played, that's right, Surfs Blues. I also played the Surfs Valley Vamps. What parent allowed us to pick that name for a regional team? That was our legitimate name for the club. And I just went to our high school. I was a Sabre, Surfs Valley Sabre. Someone in that neck of the woods. Last question. Yeah, Jill.
What kind of baby did you have?
Oh, what kind of baby did I have? I had a human baby. I had a lovely boy, and I also have a 3-year-old daughter, Nora. So I have a Nora and I have a Jack. And I had no one around last night, and it was awesome. Any other burning questions out there? Yes?
Volleyball, what school? 'Cause I was the provincial champion in '88, men's and women's team was what?
Surfs.
South
Collegiate. Oh, interesting. It's fun. I like to bring. I actually presented at the MHSAA conference, and they thought that joke was hilarious. So I like to lead with that one. So we went in the sport room. So when we talk about building rapport, it's important for us to understand why that's important. When we are wanting to have a successful exchange, we need to come at it with, oh, you were at the MHSAA conference. You heard that joke already. Shoot. Sorry. I have the material. Jeepers.
I'm gonna wrap it up a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I can do that. So when we have those successful exchanges, we need to build that foundation and set the tone right from the beginning. We've all been in those conversations where we know that that person isn't being authentic, or they're asking a question and then thinking about 87 other things and not really paying attention to that answer. So the idea of building rapport and having that beginning foundation set is something that I'd like us to practice a little bit. When we talk about rapport, it is not a fixed mindset that we need, actually anything this weekend. We want to have that growth mindset. I know myself, some people find this hard to believe, but I'm actually an introvert, and it's a lot of energy that it takes for me to be up here or to have those individual exchanges. My husband, on the other hand, when we go on trips, he knows everybody in the airport and where they're going and what crop they put in last winter or last summer. He knows their dogs, and then we usually end up having to meet them for drinks wherever we're going, because now we're best friends. Okay, I just wanted to sit on the beach and not talk to anyone, but all right, let's go meet your new friends. This comes very naturally to him, and for me, it's work. But I know how important it is, so I want to put that work and effort in. So I'd like you to practice a little bit. All you're going to do is, with a partner, someone at your table, you can know them, you don't have to know them previously, I want you just to chat about the lunchtime panel today. The lovely folks that are going to be sitting in those nice armchairs behind the screen. What do you want to hear about from them? That's all I'm going to tell you. Go. And judging by your own cutoff conversation, we can carry on. I like the resourcefulness in the room. Everybody immediately opened up their panel booklet. Oh, who's on the panel? What are they going to talk about? So that was excellent to see. Always problem solving, one of the NCCP core competencies as coaches. Well done. So tell me about your exchange. How did it feel? Easy, relaxed, casual. Excellent. When you're starting out, either in a new communicative relationship or with someone you've never met before, your husband's new friend you met on the plane, or someone that you've known for years and years, the depth of your connection is going to be different, and that's okay. Rapport building and that first connection doesn't have to be deep. We don't have to dive right into our life's deepest desires and darkest secrets. The more we can relate and be open to asking questions, hearing from the other person, and be genuinely listening back, the better that other person is going to feel, and then those connections can start to become deeper. What was one thing that either your partner or your group, the other person, did that you noticed that made you feel comfortable and at ease?
Body language.
Body language, tell me about that.
Towards them and eye contact.
Aha. Now, we talk a lot about eye contact. I'm going to make you uncomfortable for a minute. Okay. We don't want to get too close. Hi, how are you? Good, excellent. How's that feel?
Great.
Great, good. I'm not getting that from her body language. She did not feel great. So thank you. We want to make sure that we are reading the cues from that other person and making sure that we're aware of how much space is desired or wanted, and with the eye contact. We have a lot of new Canadians in our areas, and it's important that we're aware of the cultural norms for the different Canadians that we're working with. Some eye contact is helpful. A lot of times physical touch is not encouraged between the genders, as well as just with new people. People aren't comfortable with that. Always ask before, do you mind if I make you feel uncomfortable? Do you mind if I touch your hand? Can I move your foot? If you're putting an athlete into position. If you're working in an office, perhaps that's not the way to go. But it's important that we're aware of those things, and we're keeping that in the back of our minds to make people feel comfortable. What else do people do with your exchange? Smile. Encouraging further discussion. Anyone teaching adolescent females? We have different cues that our body makes and does and gives that will help the other person respond in the way that you're wanting. If someone is completely closed off, I will either end the conversation or try to bring out something and see what you can get them to respond and react in a positive way too. One more from this neck of the woods. What else made you feel comfortable? Yeah, just that start. Just get started. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, did you watch Big Brother last night? Whatever it might be, something light and easy. So tell me who you're going to vote for in the next Canadian election. That's a bit loaded and a bit heavy to get started. Perhaps at the end of our hour and 15 minutes we can do that. A little lunchtime discussion. I'm just joking. But there are different weight of topics that we can have. Just get started with something light and easy. On that note, I would like you to now go with your group and answer this question. What is your biggest weakness as a sport leader? Whew. I want to talk about politics. So how did that feel?
Exactly.
Good.
Thanks to see everybody who has that same feeling that, like for ours, it was like bringing that energy.
Get out there, team.
Yeah, I need this, let's just go.
I'm done talking to you now. Time to yeah, absolutely. Yes. So having a connection on that same problem or the same issue or same concern, same weakness, getting validated that, oh, others are in the same boat. That's absolutely key as well in building that rapport. Awesome. What else?
Feeling like an imposter.
Feeling like an imposter. Yeah. There's a lot of information about imposter syndrome out there. Quick story that's not in my notes. When I first started facilitating, I thought, oh gosh, who am I but the 2003 volleyball champion? No one must talk to me. I'm just this little girl from Manitoba, and I was being trained by CAUSE, the Canadian Association for the Advancement of Women in Sport, and they brought all of us together in Ottawa. I was sitting in a room with multi-medal Olympians. One was a medalist in winter and summer. And again, oh, I got the banner hanging in my school gym. And I just felt totally 100% my imposter syndrome was on full display. And I thought, you are not a facilitator. You have a Bachelor of absolutely nothing and a Bachelor of Arts. And this is not what you should be doing. This is not the room you're supposed to be in. They even have those things that you click and you advance the slides. I'm always running back to my computer to hit that button. So I just went wrong. It was like a clear voice in my head, Megan, they have them at Staples, go buy one. So I did, and it's almost like a superhero cape. I feel like a facilitator holding this little tool. And it was a very emotional moment. It sounds dramatic, but it was in my career in my mind, because I was able to overcome that simply by having this in my hand. This is a little awkward still, but that's okay. That'll come. I'm not going to buy a mic, but so that imposter syndrome. That's also, it's funny that comes up with rapport, because our inside voice is often telling us something else than what we're communicating. And that imposter syndrome is often running around and around in your head. And being able to separate that or shut it off or tell it to zip it for a minute while you're trying to engage in that conversation is a great skill to be working on. Thank you for that vulnerability. one more about this point.
Being awkward because you have to talk about your own weakness.
Aha.
Maybe you don't know very well.
Absolutely. Two excellent points. Awkward because you're talking about your own weaknesses. And I don't really know these people at this table. She just got me to introduce myself 5 minutes ago. So intentionally, I put this question second because you actually did build up a quick rapport talking about something neutral with the lunchtime panel. And now we're ready to dive deep. Probably I could have given you a few more minutes before we went into there. But when we're looking to have an awkward conversation or perhaps a difficult conversation, whether it's with an athlete, a panel, and a panel, I'm a figure skater, so my brain, I meant to say official, on the panel, or an athlete, parent doing cuts, whatever it might be, we need to try to set that table a little bit sooner than we're going to sit down and have that difficult conversation. And I don't mean, starting off, hey, how you doing? How was Big Brother watching last night? Oh, by the way, you're cut, go home now. I don't mean that. I just mean setting that foundation and having that culture built that you can have those exchanges in a light way. People know when there's going to be a difficult conversation coming. They can feel it. They know when they're getting called to the principal's office. So we don't need to add to that, but we need to be mindful of what the topic is and how we can make others feel comfortable. I'm seeing some nods. That's a good sign. Awesome. If I would have started out with your biggest weakness, how would our exercise here have been a little different? I should say, how might it have been different?
Awkward, probably.
Yeah, a little awkward to start. It's interesting because that isn't necessarily an optimistic topic that I gave you to discuss, but the conversation was just as loud and a little bit longer, actually, time-wise. People always connect on the negative things. So that's just sort of an interesting side note that usually happens when I do this exercise, is that one tends to go on longer than the neutral discussion. So once you do start that, have that exchange and build that rapport, you can expect longer and deeper conversations than if we didn't put the work in the first place. So speaking of putting some work in, I'm going to put you to work. And we're going to do an exercise that is from the Cause Effective Communication Workshop. And I'll just there's some things here. I'm just going to pass them around the room. Before we get going with it, it is not scientific, this exercise we're going to do. There are definitely other self-assessment tools to discover your communication style. A lot of people in the room will be familiar with the Myers-Briggs, for example, ENFJ in the room. And there's lots more you can do. There's some that are free, some that are paid for, some that you get a facilitator to come in and work with you for 5 days to find out that you're the color gold. And you have to put gold on your door so your office mates know how to communicate with you. Oh, she's a gold. Yikes, get stay away from the blue. This isn't that. This is just a snapshot and a quick temperature feel. Let's get the gauge. Consider your context. So often people will behave differently at work than they do in their role as a parent, than they do in their role as a coach. We were just talking last night actually, about coaches, and sometimes they'll get swearing on the field. They would never swear with their parents in the room, or their great aunt, but then they get excited and they're going to start swearing. Or vice versa, they would never swear in front of their athletes, and then at the office, all bets are off. So for this exercise, consider your role that brought you here today, and stick with that one as you're answering the questions, and try not to think too long. Again, it's not a 5-day Myers-Briggs assessment, just a quick exercise. And as you are, not as you're striving to be, because we want it to be an accurate reflection of where you're at right now. All right. So I'm going to hand it out. It's a back and forth, so you'll answer all the questions on the front and then the score sheets on the back. It's kind of annoying, sorry, I'm trying to save some paper. And we'll have a few minutes, and then we'll do a little bit of a discussion about the different types of the communication preferences in the room. All right. So as you're wrapping up your tallying, any surprises out there? Nope. I know that I'm the driver, and this proved it. How many were very, very clearly one type? Awesome. And how many were kind of maybe split between two, or sort of in general across the board? Excellent. So the 4 types types are, now I have to also preface, this is, like I said, just one tool out there. So for the purposes of this workshop, this is what we're going to discuss. There are many other topics and titles or preferences out there. So for the rest of today, we'll just discuss these four. Driver, expressive, amiable, and analytical. So as you'll see on the grid here, I don't know where it's done, so in someone's way. At the vertical axis, we have our task-focused or our people-focused, and we all land somewhere in the middle. We also have along the horizontal our directness or indirect. So each of these types fall within one of those quadrants. Our drivers in the room are results-oriented, they like challenges, they take responsibility, tend to be the risk takers, talk loud and fast, especially when they get excited about an idea, and in an authoritative tone. Often these are our entrepreneurs or business owners, and sometimes they have a turnover of staff, depending how much work they have done on their communication. So this one is very task-focused and in a very direct way. In what situation or scenario might a driver be the leader that we want? In an emergency, absolutely. We want someone to, everyone's got their EAPs, emergency action plans. Oh, we should have enacted one before we started. We want someone to be that call person. We want someone to take charge of that situation or that scenario. What other situation might we want a driver in our driver's seat?
Project with a deadline?
Something with a deadline, absolutely. A project with a deadline. Funding documents, we haven't filled out one of those. We don't really necessarily, if the deadline is looming, we don't want to take our time, we got to get that done, we got to get it in. Awesome. What scenario might a driver not help the cause?
Social services.
Social services, tell me more about that.
Any type of counseling situation?
Any type of counseling situation, excellent. Well, let me tell you what's wrong with you. Not very helpful.
I was going to say youth sport.
Ah, youth sport. Interesting. Can you expand on that?
Little kids don't really cope well with like an authoritative tone, and that and talking fast and that kind of thing. Results oriented, like they're more there to just play rather than they are to win.
Interesting. Depending where we are with our athletes on that long-term athlete development model, this communication style may not be that best fit. Great point. Thinking about the healthcare, my cousin and I are very different, and she and I were pregnant at the same time, and I used a midwife and she had an OB, and her appointments were 15 minutes. She had a list, he had answers, she was in, out, carried on with her day. Well, today I feel, and my appointments were like an hour, hour and a half. She said, what do you do in there? I don't know, depends on the day. So she's very much a driver in that context. She appreciated that doctor having those answers ready to go, ready to rock. I was more of a feely type of person, and I needed to express my feelings so that my husband didn't have to hear about it when I was crying. We have our expressives. They are energetic, inspiring, excitable, creative, ambitious, and they tend to talk loud and fast. Yeah. In what situation might we want an expressive at home? A party? Perfect. The host.
Coming up with new ideas.
Brainstorming, coming up with new ideas. Excellent. Motivating people, absolutely. Being the MC. Those people are always the MCs at weddings. Pretty hilarious sometimes. A little inappropriate. What situation might an expressive not be the one you want in charge or the leader? Where you need to listen. Ah, interesting. Because they probably aren't listening to anything because they're excited to talk, think about the next thing they're going to say.
Where you want somebody to think for themselves.
Ah, can you expand on that? She said where you want someone to think for themselves.
Because they're so busy trying to inspire you, they don't have time. Should leave you time or leave the others time to think, to get their own thoughts.
Absolutely. The pace of an expressive's conversation or time frame will be very fast, and those that need more time to process and to think, sometimes we think they might be disengaged, heads down. Oh gosh, I've lost her, she's sleeping already. No, I'm just thinking and trying to process and trying to block out your situation because I just need to be in my own head. Excellent. If it's in a more professional setting, I think of something such as a council meeting, town council meeting, city council meeting. If you're going to request money from a foundation or a board or something where everyone's in suits and talking fancy. Does anyone watch Ellen? Did anyone happen to see recently there's two guys they live in California and they go to town council meetings because they found out that the council has to listen to everybody that comes to the floor for at least 3 minutes. So they go and start pitching like the right to party, and they are your token California stoner, what you would imagine in your mind from 1982, just short of the board shorts. And they go to town council meetings. If you want to look it up in a laugh, it's fantastic. Expressives in a driver's situation. I'm not sure how professional it is, but they're getting all kinds of money from Instagram, so it must be doing something. This I should add to. This one is still quite direct, but now more people focused rather than task focused. So we've moved down into that bottom quadrant. Our amiables. Oh, we got some amiables in the room. Oh, yay. Okay, let's give them all a minute just to process. On that note, when you're planning programming, for those of you that are the administrators in the room, or if you're putting together conferences, coaches in the room, whatever it might be, try to keep these folks in mind. And as you mentioned, people need some time to process. So if you have breaks in your day, build in those opportunities. Or try to build that culture that it's okay if you need to get up and leave the room and go have some quiet time. That's fine too. That will really help them to absorb the information that we're doing or that is going on. And it'll also give them time to re-energize and get prepared for that next event or next thing, next piece. We sometimes overlook that when we're trying to, well, everyone's coming together for the day or the weekend, so we gotta make sure to just fill it up. And we forget about those folks that need to recuperate and regenerate in quiet on their own. So, amiables, we're now over in the whoa, relax.
What just happened?
Geesh, yeah, right? There we go. So we are over into the indirect or the asking side of things, but we're still very people focused. What situation might we want an amiable preference style, communication style? Counseling. Here's where we've got that opportunity. Excellent. What else?
Healthcare.
In healthcare.
Yeah. Like doctors and whatnot.
So in a non-emergent situation, having a doctor with that bedside manner is sort of the colloquial term. Absolutely. What scenario might this not be the best fit to be the person at the helm?
You need something done.
Being a head coach.
Being head coach. Being that decision maker, needing something done. We needed an answer yesterday. When we talked about that EAP, perhaps hanging out and tell me how you feel. Well, I'm bleeding out, so let's get something going. Not the right time. Lovely. And now our analytical brains. I have a friend who is 99% analytical, and I find her entertaining. I drive her crazy. But we're a good team because we build on each other's differences in what the other person doesn't have. We can make up. So our analyticals are very task-focused, and they're on the indirect side of the spectrum. Thorough, logical, independent, conservative, detail-oriented, concise language, and they tend to speak in a lower tone and a lower pitch and a slower pace. Not so excited and amping up. Kind of like if anyone remembers the Bugs Bunny cartoon where the big dog is like moping along, the little dog's eating around his feet. That's me, my friend. I'll let you decide who's who. So, when do we want an analytical preference or communication style?
When you're creating plans.
Creating plans. Excellent. That detail Excellent. We want that idea person, and then we want someone to actually make that idea happen. And remembering to bring the tape and the scissors in the bucket.
Financial services.
Financial services, aha. Here's a treasurer binder. Slap. Get that out of my house.
Probably a technical director or like someone with a client-based part of the team.
Sure,
Or
yep.
staff.
Part of the staff, that is key, what you just said. We want to make sure that we've got, to build that ideal staff, we want people who are different from us. Different? We all have to agree and get along. You still can while you're different, that's okay. When would an analytical personality or preference maybe not be the best fit?
You're selling an idea.
Ah, selling an idea, how come?
Because you need to project a vision of something that doesn't yet exist.
Project a vision of something that doesn't yet exist. Good answer, you guys didn't know this. Let's try it home.
Yeah, bus
Bus went, oh, Jesus, Gavin's in the house.
Get off the wall.
Any other scenarios that we would not want an analytical person in the leadership? Public speaking. Needs some action. We got to kick it up a notch. Well, let me tell you all the 18 ways why that's not going to work. Oh, Lordy. Let's not go there. But I want that person in my corner doing my taxes. For sure. Hey, did you think about this loophole? Did you add this in? Oh, your Lulu? Yeah, that's right off. Perfect. That's what we want to have, that teamwork, what we're looking for. So it's so important that we are aware of our own preferences and what we tend to go to so that we can build our teams, whether it's a professional team, a sport team, a relationship, to fill in those voids and to balance us out. So now here's the fun part. Are you guys excited? I'm excited for two reasons. One, this is where I get to stop talking and you're going to do more of the work. And two, it's a new exercise that I'm going to try. It's going to be so fun. So, I was going to move everyone together, but I kind of like how we are spaced out at the moment. So we're going to pretend that you're two groups. Here's one group, and here's one group. You need to form 4 groups here and 4 groups here. You're going to choose, each group is going to be one of the preferences. And then, I really hope that this is going to work because it'll be so fun if it does. If not, you're probably not going to have me back. I would like you to put together a bit of a skit. I know, right? Oh, no, man. That you are sportscasters. It doesn't have to be everybody, but you know, if you were in my group, probably I'd be the sportscaster on camera. Maybe your expressives in the room, like, aha, there you go, exactly. Expressives in the group? Yes, I'm a broadcaster. You are going to put together a bit of a skit or a bit of a script, and you are going to communicate in your roles. So, as I'm babbling away, perhaps this is one group here, and you guys are drivers. You are going to perform your skit the way a driver would communicate. Oh.
Do we have to guess what they are?
Pardon me?
Do we have to guess what they are? Or they wouldn't?
That's a great idea, yes. Yes, I like that. So, here's what we're going to do. Put yourselves in 4 groups. 4 groups on this side and 4 groups on this side. Then I'm going to come around and assign you your preference. You'll create your script, and then you will act it out just for your half. You're about halfway through your time, so if you want to practice, feel free.
Yeah, but like the side. Yeah.
These four on that side.
I'll be like, all right, I'll come back.
And we could ask questions. Yeah, exactly. We could ask a personal thing and then you could analyze the
Let's start performing in about 2 or 3 minutes. About 1 more minute and then we'll start our performances. All right, everybody, we'll start our performances. So if this half of the room, you can sneak around the partition. And if you're the first group to go ahead and get that train started. Other groups, you're going to observe and try to guess which style they are. All right. Group 1.
Here.
Ready?
All right, here. We'll go. I'll take notes.
All right. So you four are going to perform to each other. This group's going to start, and you're going to try to guess what style they are. All right? Set it up for us, group 1.
All right, team, huddle in here, huddle in the action.
Are they correct? Oh, excellent. Thank you, group 1. Group 2. Okay, get a second so that you can pick it up on the mic.
Okay, so in the Jets game last night, the Jets were at home versus. Oh, sorry. Okay, so the Jets were away playing New Jersey, and so after the second period, the score was 3-1.
Only a few months away.
And oh, yes, you're right. Okay, so they were down 4-1 after the second. In the third, they came back and tied it up, so it was 4-all in the third. They had to go into overtime. They
City Plaza is just won the
didn't
1,500
score
meter
again in
skating
overtime, and
race.
then they had to go shootout, and Sharky scored.
Can you believe it? I'm still scoring.
Wheeler scored the game-winning goal in the shootout, so the Jets won 5-4.
Correct. Excellent.
Like all of Canada. I'll pay back to you when I'm playing in the city.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TSNC, the World Dart Championship. Association, my fellow commentators, get up the bouncing ball, the wall card, to take us in and to talk about our 2 inspiring and ambitious dart competitors for today.
Expressive. All right. And our 4th group, I guess the secret's let out, but that's okay. Whoops. If I sit here, let me.
Good afternoon, my lovely family.
Thank you very much.
Incredibly hardworking
Screening has been
audience.
fantastic. She's
The moms,
there.
the dads,
Here for this.
the professionals. I see you, I appreciate you, I value that you take time to
Prepare mentally, physically,
listen to me today.
coaches,
Oh, Steve.
taking her through. She needed to
It's a beautiful fall day in Gimli from the Gimli podcast. Well, this is such a my brand new friend. So I just spent the week here with her dog, Tosh, we're reconnected over our dogs. We know long walks. It is my honor that she would take her time to be here, to go out to the field and tell you about this exciting, amazing human connection. And we all know that happens sometimes. We're going to shoot you a clip of City run. Made sure that she got the stress over. I'm now recording with head coach Nadia. How do you feel?
I feel unbelievable to get to do this with this group of young ladies. They are such incredible human beings. And to see Emily, I've known her since she was a child. It's such an astronomical moment for us in the team. I'm so grateful to hear you and everyone else in the panel. Like, it's a big moment.
What's left? Excellent. Awesome. Thank you for claiming it. We'll wait for the other groups to come down.
You know, we're here at Canada Stadium, ready to watch the Bombers take on the Rough Riders. Sad show that the team's demise in first place, which is critical.
Well, if we analyze statistically about people's preferences, where they like to put their money, I'm saying they'll probably prefer a couple of beers over maybe wine. There's more product.
Now, would you say that that's because of the price of the beer compared to the wine, or would it be somebody's preference on taste?
Well, the last time we did a survey at the pre-game, and with the demographic of between 35 to 50, the preference was beer. Do you have a comment on that?
I think stats show beer is so expensive compared to everything else. Prices just keep going up.
Now, have you seen the price of the Waldy burger?
Do you think there's value?
Do you think the value for your price is worth having the Waldy burger and the beer?
Well, if we really think it over.
You gotta be thorough.
Yeah. Right. You really have to be thorough in this process because you don't want to spend your money on something that's not worth it.
So the king cans, they are having more, would you say, than just like your regular.
I've researched extensively the blood alcohol levels of Bombers fans compared to Saskatchewan Rider fans, and eating a Waldy burger may lower blood alcohol content and thus reduce the enjoyment of the Bomber fans at the game, particularly in cases where the Saskatchewan Riders defeat the Blue Bombers, which is a typical outcome of this particular match.
The staff are supporting.
I wouldn't say that exactly. My thoughts are that even though it may look that way, we are not hearing watermelons on our heads.
Another thing I'd like us to just speak about quickly as we analyze the game before it starts is Trump would have what some would call fantastic hair. Just like you say, have a nice hair. Have you done any research in this area?
Studies actually show when there's poor weather, though, everybody's hair is going to be bad. So we're not really concentrating on that. But the sunnier the weather, statistically, the more beer they're going to drink.
Oh, yes, and that is a critical factor.
I think that's the sunnier the weather has anything to do with the buying of the watermelon.
Oh,
For this as well.
yes, logically that would make sense.
Nobody wants to hold water.
One last group to perform? Awesome.
And we're back. Welcome.
No, we gotta get right into this. I mean,
We have to,
what?
we have to talk about the election.
Have you voted? Let me know if you vote. We need to vote.
What do you think about?
No. Enough of her speech. We need to get done now.
What do you think of what the Liberals, what they're doing with sport programming in all of our provinces?
You know, sport is sport. Let's get it done. Let's win some games. Let's figure this out. Everything needs to get done. And that is it.
All right, head back to your spots. As we're coming back to the room all together, I want to say thank you very much for playing that game with me. That was far surpassing my expectations, so thank you. I wasn't sure coming into a room of sport people if the theatrical side would come out, but I think the competitive side perhaps overshone, and that was fantastic. Just on my side note, should I do that again? Was that fun or was it awful? Okay, yes, that's good, excellent. So the purpose of that exercise was really to give you guys a chance in the room to practice communication styles that may not be your preference, because it's important that, as we talked earlier, that we have the opportunity to practice those things that we're not good at and make sure that we're fit for different scenarios that we might come into account. There are going to be times where you are the only coach or the only admin and you'll have to play different roles. So having just an idea of, oh yeah, Amy really likes details. Okay, I'm gonna have to spend a few minutes and I'll get my stats together, which by the way, I'd email Amy to send to me in my real day job. And so I'll have those prepared for her and then I'll know that'll get better. Or when you're going to a council meeting and you're looking for funding or looking for more access to facilities or ice time or whatever it might be, knowing that there might be multiple communication styles on that decision-making panel, try to speak to all of those styles. So have a few stats, have that sob story for the tearjerker, have those moments of excitement and have those moments of reflection so that you can leave that room knowing you've hit all those different communication styles. Barack Obama is a great example of someone who prepares and takes that time, and if you analyze some of his speeches, analyticals in the room, you'll notice that he'll mix it in with all of those different pieces. Any final thoughts or debrief comments from that exercise? You guys had some excellent storylines. So, I like to, as I say, wrap up my workshops. Lunch is coming out with a little bit of my friend Kylo there once in a workshop told me back in the day, give me something I can use on Tuesday. So this is my opportunity to give me something I can use on Tuesday. I liked this meme too. 98, don't meet up with strangers, don't get in the car with strangers. 2008, don't meet people from the internet alone. 2019 or 2018, we're actually ordering strangers from the internet to get in the car to drive somewhere. Technology is always changing and advancing. So, these are a few tips and techniques that I use for different communication tools. Doodle polls. Anyone done doodle polls in the room? Awesome. So for those of you that have never used it, it's a free, you can do a paid version, but it's a free opportunity for you to schedule meetings. Face-to-face communication is very important. So you throw out the, hey, I've got times on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, send an email out, people click the link and they identify what days and times work for them. You can pick the day that works for the most people. You're still not going to get everyone in the room, but it's close. Team Snap. I'm 100% sure that most people in this room have used Team Snap, perhaps not on the administrative side. So you may not have been the one in charge of the Snap app. It's a really great app and a really great way to communicate with multiple people. If you have a purchased account, you can add more users, you can put schedules, you can send notes to phones, you can send alerts, you can do all kinds of things. So there's that. And then this last TED Talk, I was on my way here yesterday and listened to a podcast that Lara was on, and then I watched her TED Talk on the way that language actually shapes the way we think. It is fascinating to understand how, even just if you, I can't even get into the details, but the way we use words and how that actually makes decisions that we don't even know is happening. So if you are a TED Talk enthusiast, I would recommend this one. If you're a podcast listener, What Really Happened was the name of the podcast, and Lara was the guest on that podcast. I would like to open it up to the room. What are some tools that you are using that we should know about in the world of communication, in any context? Louder for me?
Remind.
Remind? Tell me.
Remind. So it's like a text messaging app. So the app doesn't know your number and you don't know their number. And it's just a free app that you can text back and forth and go straight to their phones. And if they don't have a device, they can use their emails. And it goes to the phone.
Did everybody hear that on that side? So the Remind app,
Remind.
and correct me if I got these details wrong, it's a messaging service, but you don't actually know the other person's cell numbers or emails, but you can still communicate directly with them, so it gives that privacy. Excellent. One side note about texting, as a coach, this may or may not have happened to someone in the room with Mountain Games. We needed profile pictures, and so I just thought, oh sure, I'll just text the kids and get them to send it to me directly instead of going through the parents. So I was literally sending texts saying, hey, can you send me a picture, please? Not appropriate. Don't do that. Don't tell my boss that I did that. Any other ideas, suggestions?
There's a work group called Slack.
Slack, a work group, workspace app. Tell us about Slack.
So it's like a workspace where you can communicate with people who are invited into your group, and you can post things or whatever. And so if you're working on a specific project, you can share and collaborate, or you can have like a group of like-minded individuals who kind of share a space and can kind of communicate through kind of like a message board with the ability to direct message each other through the app as well.
Awesome. For those on that side, Slack is a workspace online platform that you can do direct messaging, you can collaborate, you can select different groups to be participating, you can follow different conversations. Thank you. Are you comfortable talking to your mic? I would love that.
I think it's important to remember to actually verbally communicate with people, so not to be afraid to pick up the phone or to create an opportunity for people to meet in person.
Excellent. Thank you. I love that. So similar to what we just did today and knowing the different communication personalities and preferences that we have, the method of communication is going to vary from person to person. I myself check my emails twice a week. Yes, 2 times a week, and that's all. So if it's something urgent, I know, what? If not my day job emails, bosses in the room, my business emails. If it's something that is important or urgent, those that know me to a point that it might be urgent, i.e. family or something of that nature, they know email isn't the way to alert me. If you need something done by Tuesday, send me a text so that I'll go check my email if it's not my email day. So it's important to know who you're communicating with and what methods they prefer. Other suggestions on technology? Yeah.
I haven't finished reading it yet, but there's this book just to the point about communicating human to human called Alone Together. And it's evidence-based, and it talks about the impact of technology on our ability or inability to communicate, and as well as the impact intergenerationally. I've started reading it, and it's good. I just haven't finished it yet. But
So
anyway,
the ending might be terrible.
pardon me?
So the ending, we're not sure if it's
Yeah, I'm not. Anyways, but it's evidence-based, and just to your point about continuing to connect human to human, because that's an important skill. Obviously, as you illustrated today, right?
And it's called Alone Together?
Alone Together.
Alone Together.
Yellow cover.
Yellow cover,
Yeah.
for the visuals in the room. Excellent. We got time for one more.
Spectrum and like related to team tap, my football team actually uses Team Linked.
Team Linked.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. It's just that like that app started in Saskatchewan, so that's
Team Linked started in Saskatchewan. Excellent. So that's another opportunity though to be supporting and using different apps because they'll all have different features that might fit for different situations. And it's free. Ding ding ding. You like that? Oh, that changes everything. Excellent. Yeah. Well, quick review on what we went over. So we started talking about that rapport, setting that tone, starting to make that connection, laying the groundwork for deeper connections so we can have those deeper conversations. We took some time to look at your own self and have that self-reflection. That is one of the biggest personality traits that I would tell you to focus on is have that self-awareness. Take some time for that reflection. As a leader, it's so important that we actually set aside time for that, to do that. We did our engagement, and your performances were fabulous. We got them on camera, so that's perfect. If you have concerns, Julian's looking at me like, what? And then we, of course, talked about our tech and our apps. I thank you very much for listening to me. This is my email address. My website is being worked on. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I do want to mention that the exercise we did was part of the Cause Effective Communication Workshop, which is part of the Women in Leadership series. There are a number of cause facilitators in Manitoba and in Saskatchewan. So if your organizations are looking for any sort of workshops, we are happy to connect you with someone in your area or whoever you might want to bring in to present those. Any final thoughts from the room? Amy, how are we doing for time? Oh, I told her that was my learning goal. I'm not real good at staying on time, so that was what I said I wanted to work on for me today. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful lunch and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Megan. So lunch will be served in the main conference room over there where breakfast was at 12 o'clock. The panel discussion on engaging females in sport from athletes to leaders will be here starting at 12:30. And then weather permitting, the Bison Transport afternoon refreshment break will be held outside in the north end parking lot, so behind us. Please bring a jacket if you need, and if you haven't done so already, you can enter your name for the Bison Transport draw for a $200 shopping spree. All of the ballots were given on the way in, so if you didn't receive one, just ask one of the committee members and they will get one for you. But enjoy your lunch.